The Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Scotland have opened doors for me to numerous different communities. After talking with several locals, I realized that community has a different meaning for each person. Each person is involved in their community for different reasons. However, one common factor between individuals is that everyone has experienced suffering in one way or another. This suffering leads to a desire to find peace. To find peace within a community is to build relationships and unify individuals. My research question that I focused on is, what do we learn about peace from living in a community?
I would say that Ireland is a very open place where you're going to get to know a lot of people at a shallow level, but it's hard to get to know people really deeply. And I don't know if that's particular to Dublin because there are so many. This is a very international city with a lot of people coming in and out for jobs or for short-term study. That maybe because I am American coming in, people are hesitant to be like welcoming me into their lives deeply because they're used to people coming in and out. And as for community, it does become, at least for us and for a lot of internationals, that we tend to stick together and we don't infiltrate very well, and that we've still gotten to know a lot of people from various countries, but we have missed, I think, some aspects of Irish culture because we haven't had this. That we get in academic settings or in work settings, but we don't have the level of like friendship and relationship with people here that maybe we would have back home.
So it's harder to just meet those people.
Yeah, like you'll get
a deep connection.
strike up a conversation with somebody, but it's hard to like form a lasting relationship.
Yeah.
People in your group that you knit with that are age ranges from 14 to 94?
98.
98.
Yes. Yeah.
And my question is, how do you get this group to come back together? And is it the charity work that makes them come back, or is it just the community itself that you have?
I think it is loneliness. A lot of my knitters, or I should say the majority of them, are quite elderly people, and they don't know many people. Perhaps their friends have died. Their children, families have left to live in our area, and they are wherever they brought their family up, and the family brought them up to stay near them, and they don't know anyone. The families are all out at work or school. They're on their own, and we put out a little advertisement to say, calling all knitters, anyone who would like to knit and knit for.
Well, it depends which community you're talking about. I mean, the Iona community, to being a member of that, it's quite a long story because I came here first with Tradecraft, which is a fair trade organisation. I think you have fair trade in the States where you buy things from many different countries, but you make sure that the things you buy, the people are not exploited. So you make sure they're paid fairly. And I came here for a conference about that in 1998, and I immediately felt at home because I felt I was in with a group of people with whom I had a true community because they were working in the same way, the things that I do, which and my husband does as well. But sometimes you kind of feel like you're a voice in the wilderness. You know, I work on developing fair trade, and we work on helping people in underdeveloped countries, and we do all sorts of things. But sometimes it feels like you're the only one doing it in your locality. But when I came here, I felt I was at home. I was with people who actually shared the same sort of ideas about working as Christians, not just from one church, but from all churches together, working towards an aim of developing peace through just behaviour. In other words, treating people justly. And so I felt very much at home with it. But I'd come up without my husband because it was half-term holiday, and so he was left at home looking after the children while I came up. And so the next year I brought him up and I said, you must come and experience this. And we've come up every year since. And we didn't do anything about actually becoming totally associated with the community to begin with. But gradually we came up and brought groups, not the current groups, but in the previous church we were in, we brought groups up, and then we became associate members of the community. And we found that was okay. It was quite good, but we didn't feel satisfied with that. So we came up here for a week, which was other associate members, and talked to the leader, who then said, you should apply to become full members.
At the time, we decided we had to go and sort of make a protest, and that's what we did, and not just once but several times. And we got arrested. I had 3 cautions for breach of the peace, and each time they called them what we used to call them the Black Mariahs. They were big black vans, and they brought for people who, you know, were lying in the street or whatever, which is what we did at one point. We just sort of sat down in the middle of the road with our prams and stopped the traffic, you know, and all that, and bundled us in the vans and took us down to the police station, and then called our husbands to come and collect us, and gave us cautions in front of our husbands and bound us over to keep peace. And did that quite a lot. We did. As I say, I was arrested 3 times, and after that, my husband said it might affect his career if which it could well have done at that point, because it's different these days, you know. But then I went on to work in sort of, I suppose, helping to make life better for people who were on the edge, poor people and people who were not in very good circumstances. And I trained and became a social worker, particularly because of that. And then I'm still involved in protests, but more to do with Tibet. I've been involved with the Tibetan Society and with what's happening in Tibet since 1973, which is when the Chinese first...
Because they go to Iona and they're a good and I'm not talking about community members, I'm talking about guests in the Abbey. They go and they're a bit dissatisfied with their local congregation or their life. They go and have a great experience in Iona for a week. I mean, not everyone's a great experience, but quite a lot of people do. And then they go back home, and it's really hard just going back into where they came from, because it's still the same as it was. So somehow, I mean, I suppose they need to find resources, whether that's in meeting up with other people or in whatever way, to enable them to keep hold of the vision and keep hold of this wee extra thing that maybe we did experience. I don't know, but it's tough. I mean, there's nothing in the Gospels that suggests that the way of faith is easy.
I mean, we don't feel that it's being a burden being part of the members, being a part of the island community. It's a support system.
Yeah.
Because they're people who actually we totally trust, and they, you know, it's a shared trust. So we talk about things that perhaps people don't normally talk about. One of the things we have to do is, for example, we have to account to each other for use of our...
The murals that are placed all around Northern Ireland to me seems like a cry for peace. Both sides have murals of those who are lost, and both sides have been incredibly affected by the other, and there lies deeply rooted pain. It's hard to believe that the two sides still have difficulty coming together as one community.
Again, seems that we're putting it back at the door of the British government. But for the same token, you know, there are other people who died in this city at the hands of loyalists and at the hands of Republicans. You know, we have to put stuff at their door too. And part of that is we need to get to a point where we acknowledge that all of this happened, acknowledge the communal suffering on this whole city as a result of that, and find ways of moving forward together with it. Not pretending it didn't happen, not closing it up in a box and forgetting about it, because nobody's going to forget about it. You're never going to go through a Christmas day with an empty chair at a table and not realise that your brother should be there, or your father should be there, or your daughter should be there. That's going to be there as long as you live, and your children are going to get the same thing. So what we need to do is break that cycle that insists that this is about vengeance and not about justice. That this is about acknowledgement, this is about truth, and not about maintaining the hurt because of the hurt that has been caused. One of the things that happens with this here, I call it the blood of the martyr complex. Sometimes we make great martyrs, because as long as we have somebody we can point at that they killed, we can justify the next action. The blood of the martyrs complex. That's how we justify this stuff. So, okay, I want to go down here. And the agent's going to phone these things.
Finding peace within your community doesn't happen overnight. After talking with people from all over the world, I realized how each person characterizes community differently. To me, ensuring peace in your own community involves getting to know people and building relationships. Through building relationships, you can have an unbreakable trust between one another. This trust takes time to blossom. It involves hearing other people's point of views and understanding where their pain comes from. Everyone has experienced suffering in one way or another, but this is what unites us. We can use this common denominator to try and stop polarism from continuing and unify individuals. Community means bringing people together as one and celebrating differences, not using these as weapons against them. Community is where you find your home. It's where you can trust your neighbor. It's where conflict can be put to rest and unification can prevail. No matter what differences lie between you and your neighbor, there can only be peace within the community if relationships are built among individuals. Thank you.